Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching this episode. I am super excited to have you in this channel, and I'm sitting beside an imaginary fireplace because it's freezing cold outside. So I put my cowboy hat because we're about to have a very important conversation on a very important topic at this moment. But before we start, I want to go ahead and read a certain verse from the book of Second Corinthians because this verse kept me moving. Today, it's a very important day because it marks exactly 1 month since I got hired. I have been out looking for a job for close to 5 months after graduating. And now today marks exactly 1 month after I got hired. And this specific verse really kept me moving when I was looking for a place to work. And so without further ado, I'm going to read from the book of Second Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. And it says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong." That's a powerful verse from the book of Second Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9. And today, as I celebrate 1 month in employment, I've really been thinking about talking about this topic. And because I know there are so many people who are going through this in different places, but in particular, and I'll limit my scope to students because in this channel I speak more of my journey as an international student in the United States, and some of the wins, some of the challenges, some of the things that I had to give up, and some of the things that I had to say, now enough is enough, I'm gonna focus on this. So after I graduated late last year in August, by the way, most people knew me because I shared that I had participated in commencement in April, and so many people thought that I graduated in April. But in reality, my graduation was in August of 2024 because after commencement in April, I had to go for an internship period for 4 months for me to qualify, for me to officially graduate. And that's why I graduated in August of last year. Now, as an international student, your prayer is after graduation, you get a job, because that's the happiness of everybody who is in academia, that at the end of your program, then you'll have somebody, or you'll have somewhere you can work, be it maybe an initiative. You might opt to start your own company. You might go for employment where majority of us starts from. And so that was my prayer as well. That was my hopes and the hopes of many international students here in the United States. But you know what? Things doesn't turn up exactly what we want most of the times. Sometimes it takes times before you find yourself to where you want to be. And so after graduation, I was so hopeful that I will get a job. And I was transitioning from an internship, which was very promising. And I was 100% sure that I'm gonna get a position in this company that I was working at that moment. And because what I had done was great work in my internship, and I really emphasize, if you're taking your internship, please do as much as you can, do the best you can, because you never know who is watching in within that organization that you're working. And I had a chance to be in that company after my internship. There was an open position, but unfortunately I didn't get it, because when you graduate as an international student, you still under F1 visa. If you came here as an F1 student like myself, of course there are other different categories of visas, but I'll limit myself to F1 visa. So if you graduate as an F1 visa and your program qualifies you to go for an internship, like for my case, a STEM OPT, and I had mentioned in my previous video that OPT is optional practical training, which you can choose to do it here in the United States, or you can choose to go back home and do it elsewhere. So as an international student who've gone through an American system of education, we all hope that after graduation that we are able to get into the corporate America. And so when I graduated, I had a chance to continue working in this company, but the problem was my OPT was not approved by the government at that time. And so it was a very frustrating moment for me, because the employer is giving you a job offer, but you are limited to take the offer because the government has not approved your STEM OPT. So it was an issue of me trying to talk with the HR of this specific company, and things could not work out. And so I had to leave the company with the hopes of getting my OPT approved in time so that I can get back to them and try to see whether the position would still be available. And that didn't happen. It took couple days, I think a month, after I left the job, after I left the internship, that is. And so I became jobless. Now, another thing that happens, if you graduate, you have at most 90 days to report unemployment to the immigration through your school. For example, in my school, there is a department of international students, and that's where you report any change of status as long as you're an F1 student. So you have like 90 days to report to the immigration that you have secured a job, and therefore you are legally supposed to you are legally here in the US. And you know, there's a lot of anxiety as far as the whole issue of being here legally or illegally. There's a lot of anxiety, especially with the current administration. So for my case, I had to wait for 1 month for my OPT to be approved, which it was approved. And I tried to reach out to my former employer with my now OPT approved, but still the position was not here. So I now started counting my 90 days. 90 days, that's approximately 3 months. So if you fail to get a job within 3 months, then you are deemed out of status. And there you find yourself in a very critical position. And at that period, that's where you find most international students fight or go through depression, go through mental health issues, because you have the qualifications, but you don't have someone to absorb you in any organization. And it's a very traumatizing period where you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're out of status. So I was in that period, and luckily enough, I was able to get an internship, which within my 90 days, I was able to get another internship, which at least kept me still under my OPT, under my OPT status. So, but now this is an internship, is not a job. You don't know how long it's gonna last. So I kept on applying for jobs, and it reached a point I was like, was it worth for me to get into this whole situation? You know, I had my own stress navigating through the graduate studies and completion. Getting an internship was another pain. Now I have the qualifications, but still I don't have a job. I'm working on an internship, and to be precise, this was an unpaid internship, which you know, you still have bills to pay. You still have to make sure that you're living under a roof. You have people who depend on you back home. But we're going to talk about that. So this period, nobody prepares you when you come here as an international student. You find yourself into it, and you know, I went through this, and I know many students who are going through this. I've interacted with some who are navigating through job search and all kind of that kind of period. And to be honest, it's a very challenging moment, a very frustrating, a very you know, for lack of a better word, a situation that you don't want to find yourself into as an international student. So I worked on this unpaid internship for close to 5 months, and luckily enough, last month I got a job, and that's why today I'm celebrating, because it marks exactly 1 month after I got hired. Now, in this period, it is very important to remind everybody that you will find yourself in this kind of a challenging moment, especially if you're coming here to study as an international student, and maybe whoever is bringing you here, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's you're coming here or on your own, or you're using a student loan to come study here, sometimes no one will prepare you for this kind of scenario. So it is very important for all international students, for everyone who is in academia, to be prepared for moments and situations like this. Now, how do you deal with your mental health? Because it's very important. Most of the times I found myself like almost losing, you know, giving up, you know, feeling like my prayers are not being answered, feeling like I've done so much but don't deserve this. And you find so many people losing it at this critical moment. You know, the purpose of this video is to encourage you that at the end of the whole storm, there is calmness, because I went through that kind of a wilderness, but at the end of at the end of it, God, you know, God revealed Himself, and then, you know, the situation, you're gonna go through it, but you will come out of it strong. So don't give up. Don't give up. And I know you might be there out there, you know, trying to find a job, but you cannot. But no one is interested in hiring you, and you might start questioning yourself: do I really have the skills that are needed? And let me just, as I wind up this video, you know, have you ever wondered that you can be denied a chance to work in a company just because you're overqualified? You know, while I was going through all this in my 5 months of waiting for a job offer, I happened to have a job interview, and this job interview was actually related to what I went to school for. But now they told me that they could not give me a job because I was overqualified. Now, here you're fighting to make sure that you're not out of status, to make sure that you're in good shape of mind, because if your mind is not, if you don't have peace of mind, then you might end up getting into so many things that I don't want to mention. So another thing that really helped me is navigating the whole situation is to have friends who really checks on you. You know, it is very important to create a community that really checks on you, regardless of whether you have a job or you don't have. You know, don't just keep quiet. You know, let people know what you're going through. and not all people, but a circle of friends who really understands what your situation means. And in this, I mean friends who at least have gone through it, and they know, this is not the end of the road. You're gonna come out of it. Friends who are actually maybe in the same period with you. You can check up on each other and try to encourage each other. Or maybe people who know people who've gone through it, and they can recommend you to some services, or maybe programs that you can watch, or maybe you can attend. And also, the most important thing, having faith in God. Having faith in God is everything for me. I can say, God has really worked so many things, and has really transformed my life in a different way. And so I want to encourage you that while you're going through this, or maybe you've not yet there, be prepared that moments like this will pop up. And how will you deal with it? How do you deal with your stress? How do you deal with your with the depression? Because in this country, you can get depressed anytime. But the most important thing is just not to give up, and to keep pushing, and know that there'll be darkness at night, but in the morning there'll be light. So thank you for watching this video. If this is your first time, please welcome, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.